Hello, that's Agility. I'm making this video to hopefully help some of you out in deciding what to invest in if you're trying to make some content, whether it be for gaming, vlogging, etc. We'll go over all of the parts in my system and some of the external portions as well, which, speaking of, allows us to talk about something that a lot of you might not have expected. First on the list is our camera. This is a phone, and I'm sure a lot of you know that. No, but for real, some people don't realize how much potential our phones have when it comes to capturing footage. And I'd like to help encourage anyone out there that might be on a budget or simply not sure if they want to invest in an expensive camera just yet, that their phone is the next best thing. This is Samsung's Galaxy S7 Edge. One of the main reasons I wanted to put this on the list is because this is actually my plan for how I'm going to record videos and work, until I can afford an even better camera, but even now I'm not too worried about that since this performs perfectly for everything I need. The second most important thing to mention that ties this phone directly with creating content and gaming is its own built-in feature called Game Launcher. This program was made to improve mobile gaming on this phone. It offers a variety of tools to help optimize your gaming experience. Something I was very excited for is the ability to record your gameplay on the phone itself. Yes, record all those amazing Hearthstone matches on the go so that you can put them up on your channel. It gives you the option to insert your camera within the recording, so you're basically doing a let's play. It also comes with helpful features like locking the back button so you don't accidentally exit out of the game. There's also an ability to turn off alerts during the game. You can take screenshots, and it even lets you customize the resolution of the game. This feature is mainly used to reduce battery consumption by decreasing the resolution and the frame rate, which will make the game look less impressive, but like my previous example, Hearthstone, that doesn't really need a lot of resolution to perform well. So, if you happen to be an avid mobile gamer or can see the multitude of opportunities to having gaming content on the go with you at all times, then consider this phone. If you have the cash for it, that's amazing, but realistically, you want to try and implement a plan for a phone like this so that it's much more affordable. I think I'm paying around $30 or so a month on a by-year contract, which is about $720 in total. Seriously not bad. But even if that seems like a tough payment for you, there are plenty of other deals that get promoted nearing the holidays, so look for this during Christmas. No harm in mentioning the water resistance of this phone, reliably going up to about 30 minutes in 5 feet of water. I sometimes bring my phone in the shower so that I can perform daily tasks while simultaneously enjoying content that I normally wouldn't have any time for, because lately it's been pretty hectic, as I'm sure you'd probably be running into as well. If you're trying to create your content, if you're trying to make your channel, then there you go. There's one extra utility for you. Alright, so we can finally move on to the next item on the list, and it's going to be our monitor. It's useful to have more than one monitor for a variety of reasons, whether it be for organizing folders more quickly, analyzing more than a few programs at a time, even the more recreational stuff like watching YouTube on one monitor while gaming on the other, multitasking social media updates in case you're an avid news channel, and then there's memes. More room for memes everywhere. The reason you'd want a bigger monitor with low response times and high refresh rates is so you're getting the best experience possible when gaming. This monitor, as well as a short list of others, has G-Sync capabilities, which is basically reducing response times and giving you that 144 or even 160 plus hertz if you decide to overclock, all in one package. It's also possible to turn this monitor to its side so you're able to view it in a portrait fashion for any reason that may be helpful to you. Again, this monitor is amazing for both editing and gaming because it gives you high resolution max FPS and amazing response times so that you can get the most out of your content. When it comes to editing though, you'll have to trial and error the settings so that you can get the best quality possible while simultaneously running editing software such as Fraps or Open Broadcast, or even NVIDIA's very own GeForce Experience Share, formerly known as Shadowplay. Speaking of NVIDIA and its amazing built-in capabilities, I bring you the next most important thing on our list, and that's our graphics card. This is our GTX 1070 graphics card. Made by MSI, this is their Armor series, which has proven to perform much more reliably than other 1070s and even some of the 1080s in terms of overheating. The card doesn't have a much larger tolerance than other cards or anything, since you're getting what you pay for, but it does, however, provide more intake airflow to maximize air dissipation to heat sinks due to its fan blade design. The card will also prevent its fans from running unless it knows it needs to begin, This is their zero frozer technology, which basically stops the fans from running during low load situations. This means you can focus on gaming without the noise. It is VR ready, great for 4K, and being a NVIDIA product, the rest of its features deal with what NVIDIA offers through software, such as game streaming to NVIDIA's Shield, and as mentioned before, their Share application, which gives you a great recording experience for content, both gaming and desktop related, so eat your heart out how-to videos. Going from the higher prices to the lower ones, we find ourselves at the brain of the machine, the CPU. Whenever I was looking for the best value processor, I kept finding myself back at Intel's i7-6700 processor. Going with the i7 gives you much more flexibility and is optimal for builds like these. We can move on over to our motherboard sitting beautifully with this red and black sleek design. We further delve into more of MSI's products as we have settled on the enthusiastic gaming series of Intel's Z170A Gaming M7. The price for this one seemed realistic, but after some patience and consistency, we were able to snag a deal at a much lower price while still grabbing the board new and fresh out of the box. Without going over every single detail on this board, I don't want to leave out its audio boosting capabilities. Nahimic, an audio program, makes a strong influence on anyone enthusiastic about the way their sound quality is being put out. On the board itself, we have 1 second overclocking with Game Boost. All you have to do is turn this dial like you're revving that engine, and boom, your PC is getting fornicated with every bit of juice desired and performing even stronger. I'm trying to stray from the more intimate designs of the hardware, like the faster USB or the multiple ports for different types of USBs and things like that. But one thing that definitely caught my attention was MSI's supercharger. This thing allows you to supercharge basically any device that you plug into it, whether it be a smartphone or a gaming controller, whatever. Although I do remember reading that it might just be for Apple phones. I'm not entirely sure on that 100%, but I mean, it still charges my phone. I guess I can't say for sure whether or not it's supercharging my phone, but it definitely supercharges my PS4 controller. Now, the most important thing to note about this motherboard is its overclocking dedication. This thing was built for the purpose of overclocking, as I'm sure you can figure out by the built-in physical knob you can churn. But regardless of that, there's so much put into this board that will impress anyone trying to get the most bang for their buck. This one is a bit self-explanatory, and it's our Elgato Game Capture HD60. It's a very useful piece of hardware that enables me to record games off console very reliably, and as hard as I tried to get it as cheap as I could, I had little success until about a month after purchasing it, when I started getting replies back from Craigslist of people trying to get rid of theirs. This is one piece of hardware I'd recommend trying to buy off someone online, because most of the time they're getting rid of it after realizing they maybe don't want to create content. I believe you guys can score this for about 70 or even lower if you're willing, but it's definitely something worth an early buy if you don't have a decent PC yet, so that you can start putting out content. Some consoles do have streaming and recording capabilities, but they are fairly limited in what they can do, and this also gives you the ability to utilize OBS to your heart's desire. This one's my second monitor. Honestly, nothing special. It was the first one I purchased with the intent of it being temporary until I can afford a better one, but as time went on, I figured getting another monitor besides the two that I already have wouldn't be too much of a priority unless I managed to see an amazing deal for a better monitor, and I'm willing to go through the whole process of selling this one to replace it with the newer one. Now, if you're planning on recording a lot of videos, I would highly suggest investing in an HDD. For ours, we have a 4TB that I scored for $118 on Amazon. You can definitely get these cheaper if you look carefully, or you happen to be subscribed to Newegg's Deals of the Day. Especially right now, I'm seeing these things for about $100 and sometimes lower, but different brands than a Seagate if that matters to you. 4TB is definitely not a requirement. Many people can go years with just 1TB, but I wanted to decrease the amount of critical file management and reliable footage backups by investing in a larger capacity. I will, however, recommend getting an external drive in case you're worried about losing any of your stuff. So moving on to our SSD, I didn't know much about SSDs or why it was a great idea to have two forms of storage until I had every single one of my friends show me how important it is. If you don't already know, an SSD is great for putting your OS on, as well as games that you know you'll end up playing long term. Everything else, such as temporary games, videos, songs, movies, etc., those should go on your HDD. So moving on to the camera that I'm currently using is a Logitech, and the only reason I'm not using my phone right now is because it still needs a little more setting up before I can reliably use it. But for now, this thing is doing a great job. This is another one of my earlier buys, and it does exactly what it's supposed to, but for some reason my phone still shows a much better, clearer quality at the same settings. This may be my fault in some way, shape, or form, but as far as I can tell, this is the camera that's ideal for starting out. Making sure this is something you want to do before you go and throw 1 or 2 stacks on a professional camera. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to our RAM, which is G.Skill's Ripjaw 5 series. It is the 16 gigabyte, which is 2 8 gigabyte sticks, and unfortunately we got it at the basic price, I guess. Websites that give you your motherboard's memory compatibility are very important to check before deciding on the exact type you plan to purchase. I tried my best to do just that and still messed up. Several times actually. It cost me 20 bucks in mistakes just to return these things and reorder them. It is not fun. That's the least I can say about that. I'm encouraging careful consideration of which one you buy and making sure that it's compatible, because I don't want to see any of you guys have to deal with that. Just no. And don't forget to read your manual. I repeat, read your manual. Alright, so next we can just move on to the power supply unit. We have our Corsair CX series, which is a 750 watt semi-modular power supply, and it's bronze certified. As I'm sure you can see in the video, this is my mic, and she's a tiny one. This buy, as I'm sure you would imagine, had multiple intentions surrounding it. It's called a Go mic for obvious reasons, but even if you're not planning on carrying the mic around, you're still very much able to use this thing like any other professional mic. Its quality is amazing when you mess around with it enough, and I fell in love with it after I narrowed it down between the traditional snowball mics that you're seeing everywhere and this one. Only to see a comparison video easily prove that this mic performed much better. Much better than the ordinary snowballs that you're seeing, of course. I'm not referring to the higher end snowballs. I'm pretty sure that's no competition. Okay, so we can go on to our Samsung 128 gigabyte SD card. This was just to increase the amount of space my phone could hold, so I didn't have to worry about super long video with high quality trying to cut off midway through because I've maxed out my phone's storage. With this SD, I'm able to record at ultra high definition and not have to worry about recording for long periods of time. It's usually right after I'm finished recording that I transfer the video to my PC anyway, but just like the portable mic, this gives my phone that extra reliability. Our Cooler Master 212 Evo, this was purchased almost entirely on a value scale. And here's our keyboard. This is Osdio's backlit mechanical gaming keyboard, and it is my first mechanical keyboard, which looks, feels, and sounds really nice. Admittedly, if it happens to be your first mechanical keyboard, you might have just as much difficulty as I did when it came to getting used to it. My typing speed fell off dramatically while trying to adjust to this keyboard, but fortunately, once you start to get the hang of it, you'll find yourself typing way faster with less errors over time. I also decided on grabbing the padded version since I usually start to feel a lot of pressure from resting my hand towards the keyboard for long periods of time in the past. So if you know any DIY builds or don't mind grabbing one of these separately for the keyboard that you choose, then by all means do so. So this is the tripod that I'm using for my phone. It's not horribly specific to certain phones, but it is fairly specific, so make sure you can kind of understand the description if you're going to buy it. See that it is compatible or that it can fit your phone, whatever it may be. So this obviously goes back to the use of your phone if that ends up being the route you take. Early on, I had to place my phone between 2 books so that it would point directly at me. That was always a pain trying to recreate, and I felt weird that my camera's positioning would almost always change a few inches in any random direction whenever I had to recreate it. That kind of inconsistency bothered me, but it might not bother you. If you do happen to be one of those DIY wizards that can create your own phone mount, then by all means, link me to your channel so that I may subscribe, learn, and like. Otherwise, you're probably using a different video recorder that may prove more reliable or effective for you. Alright, so at the end of our list, we have a mouse. Not just any mouse, not just one mouse actually, but 2 mice. This mouse, well, I won't talk bad about it or anything, I just didn't enjoy it all that much. Yeah, it had some issues with it and I didn't want that hindering my gaming, so I quickly invested into a different mouse. I never really assumed I would end up being picky about a mouse, but once you're forced to look into the specifics of a mouse, you'll find that there's much more to them than just basic pointing and clicking. So something that a lot of you may already know is DPI, and that is basically your mouse's sensitivity. Initially, as a console gamer, I thought very high sensitivity was the way to go. So some console gamers might agree with me that higher sensitivities usually provide better FPS control. And that's in the cases where someone shoots you in the back and you want to at least stand a chance, so you're able to turn 180 degrees almost instantaneously and fight back, which is dope if you can actually pull those off, like just that quick spin around and headshot. Like if you do that, like that's gold. This was such an important feature for games like Gears of War, Halo, Destiny, Call of Duty, but it's not necessarily the same art here. I learned from a streamer a while back that having your mouse on a fairly low sensitivity is actually a really good idea. So even at low DPI, you're fully able to look right behind you at a quick rate by dragging your mouse far to the left or the right, with the exception of lifting your mouse and resetting its position sometimes, depending on how low the DPI is or the room you have on your mouse pad. But once you're aimed there, making finer tuned adjustments are stronger than ever. Now, some of you may have just heard me casually glance over the fact that you sometimes have to lift your mouse up and reset it and think, well, that's a pretty major hindrance if we're talking about the meta of mice. Well, you're right, it's not something you should gloss over. As I've also quickly glanced over, increasing your mouse's pad size can help with that very issue when in the heat of the moment. You'll have a very large amount of space to adjust, and you'll see these pads very frequently for pro CSGO players. Also, if any of that seems like overkill for whatever reason, or you just don't like the idea, then we can go back to square one and adjust your DPI so that 180 degrees, or even 360, for you Dorito eating Mountain Dew chugging dudes out there, can get exactly what you need. I left this portion last, not only because it was the cheapest buy out of everything, but because it leads me into the mouse that I ended up purchasing afterwards. Now, without being a huge mouse enthusiast or even someone just trying to future-proof their mouse, since that's not really difficult anyway, settling on this mouse was a great decision. It wasn't even until I owned it that I realized this thing was able to set profiles with ease. A profile, for anyone that doesn't know, is like a preset configuration of settings, or a template, or even simpler, a set of adjustments you've made to the mouse that you want to save. You can name it and be able to go to that saved version of your mouse whenever you want. The only reason you'd want to do this is if you have another preference for how you'd like the mouse to perform, depending on what it is that you're doing. For me, I have a preset for Overwatch and another preset for browsing so that I can aim more efficiently and browse more quickly, respectively. They also have settings that allow you to automatically switch to the profile that you want it to be, depending on what program is up. So if no program is up, it's going to switch to whatever you've set the desktop on. And if Overwatch comes up, then it'll identify that as a program and simply configure into the Overwatch setting. So I really hope I was able to help some of you guys maybe understand how you want to make your setup, or even slight adjustments to the setup you already have. I want to end this video with a quick tip for anyone that is trying to create content. As I'm sure a lot of you already know, it's super tough to try to make a channel with quality content, but it is 100% a must to provide your audience with the content they deserve, since they're spending their precious time to come check it out. Now, if you guys want, feel free to comment down below on anything you'd like to see in the next video. I'll read each and every one of them carefully, deciding which ones I'll take and try to make a video for everybody. Also, feel free to comment if you guys have any questions, you want anything answered, just go ahead and leave it down below. You can also reach me on Twitter, and the link should be down below, as well as a link to my Twitch channel. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, it helps me get more content out for you. And if you want to see some more videos like this, or you want to see if any of your recommendations down below turn up in a future video, make sure you subscribe. Or even if you want to see some of the future content that I'll have, which should be mostly gaming or even podcasts once I start to get some of my friends involved. But that's it. So yalla guys, take it easy.
Nice.
Yo, our Hanzo did carry us though.
You honor me.
That is true.
Pretty much.
But I mean, thank you, Hanzo.
Holy Jesus nipple cakes. I just did like that much damage.